do you want to tell us a little bit about your process, maybe start to finish, or maybe you could either do that, or you could talk about an inspiration, like what made you do plants with faces and bodies?
So basically, I've been making figurines for about, I guess 17 years now. When I was 10, I started just making little wire figurines, and I would like wrap them in fabric and sew them on, and I would always be ashamed because my parents didn't want me to play with dolls and I would be making them, so I actually hid them in a shoebox for several years. And then I've always been just inspired by nature because I grew up in the country in Chilhowie, Virginia, and we lived in the valley, and I was always outside, like climbing trees, hiking through the woods behind our house, and I just always gravitated towards like trees and stuff. And so I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, I started just playing around with greenery as accessories for the little figurines I was making, and then it turned into making flowers with faces and like hands, and then it's snowballed into this. So basically at the base of this is floral wire, like that thin little stuff you see like for nursery stuff that you use for orchids. And I'll make the frame. I use steel wire as the core of it to make sure it stays really sturdy, it's not going to snap off. So then after the wire, it's a layer of masking tape, and then after that I use aluminum foil to kind of pad it because it's really light.
Wow.
And it makes it dense, so that's cool. The faces are made out of clay because it's the only way to get the details in there. And that's actually new. I used to make the faces out of paper and cardboard, and I would just paint them, but the clay was a really good touch, I think, to give it that more realistic quality, like lips and stuff. And on the very top is hot glue, which gives it the texture you see.
Whoa.
And so on the hot glue, I just use acrylics and do a lot of tinting and shading to give it kind of the highlighty look and the darker look. And like all the stuff you see here, like not all of this because some of it's older, but like these are canning jars that I just put aluminum foil on and pat it, and then I surround it in masking tape, and I do hot glue on that too. Because it just kind of makes it look like you plucked it out of nature. And then I use real soil, and I add Mod Podge to it, and that makes it harden, so it anchors it in there and it won't come out. And with the greenery, obviously, I don't make the greenery because I want it to look as realistic and nice and flowy as possible. I like for it to feel real, so. But that's just kind of the process.
Wonderful. Do you just, when you like decide what greenery you're going to use, and be like, oh, this face, it's like, this is the emotion I'm getting from it. So I want.
Actually, it's kind of like that, but the greenery comes after the fact. I do the face first.
Oh.
And the face, I still don't know what it's going to be like. And then once I get the body going on it, I kind of decide then what kind of plant it's going to be. My favorite kind to do, I don't know if it's my favorite. I love doing the flowers just because they're easier than the tree branches, because the tree branches you have to wrap each individual thing on there. But yeah, after it keeps going, I like that because it tells me what their name is going to be, what it's going to what the mood is going to be, what it's going to look like. So, yeah.
Awesome. Let's see. Is there anything else that we could possibly ask that we're forgetting?
They're known as nature sprites.
Nature sprites.
Sprites, because that's an element of nature. I had an old art professor who kind of helped me figure out the name because I didn't know what to call them. Because they're like trees, but they're people, but they're called nature sprites. I like to try to use Google Images to figure out what kind of leaf they are or what kind of plant it is, so that I like to actually post like the origin of the plant species with it, because it just kind of makes it a little fun. Like the pothos plant is one of my favorites just because that's my favorite kind of house plant. So, but that's basically it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.